Oh, this is a tough question, okay? Have you ever heard of, or maybe fallen victim to, sexually transmitted debt? Oh, yeah, this is going to be spicy. I'm here for that. It is a thing. It's a phenomenon where one partner's financial problems become the other's burden. And this plays out, I would imagine, in a very dynamic range of situations. But here's a question. Would you be willing to date someone with significant debt if you knew about it going into the situation, or would you see it as a deal breaker? All of a sudden, this financial talk becomes an emotional one. So we've brought in the expert on the financial side, who's going to play psychologist a little bit today, Werner Rousseau, wealth manager of PPS Financial Services. Obviously very successful in your space, but kind of money hasn't been that successful over the last few years. It's a very difficult time. So there is a lot of debt in very dynamic ways that's starting to surface. But I love this notion of, because it kind of brings it front and center. So what is sexually transmitted debt?
Yeah, isn't this a fun topic?
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, I think sexually transmitted debt can be described by way of an example. It's you want a cell phone or a new jacket and you can't afford it. In jumps your partner, knight in shining armor, says, let's take the contract out in my name. A few months down the line, you're not together anymore. You're gone with that cell phone, and guess who's still liable for that debt? The contract is still in your name.
And that can happen on scales.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when it's a jacket, it's another thing when it's a house or a small business or something like that. This can potentially be devastating.
Exactly. It's, I think if we look at the default marital regime in South Africa, it's being married in community of property. So what that means is what yours is mine, and what mine is yours. And that sounds all good with the assets, but the liabilities also come with that.
And it's worth, I think, having that conversation, but it's a difficult one to broach on your first date. And I think it bears the question because it speaks to more your own financial journey than the person you're considering. When I ask this question, will you be dating or willing to date someone with significant debt, or would you see it as a deal breaker? So what do you think leads us to our financial mindset in a situation like this?
I think when we talk about debt, we have to define good debt and bad debt. So good debt is obviously if you buy a house, you're paying off an asset, or getting money to start a business. That's good debt. But then you have the credit cards, the personal loans, the store accounts, and then you've got this Tinder swindler vibes going on. So then that's a red light.
A massive red light. And I think it is worth you having this conversation in a way that has the right kind of tone. Because if you are going to build a relationship together, your finances are going to mix. I think the boundary element is a good place to start because it makes it a little bit less of an emotional thing. How do we go about defining what those financial boundaries are?
I think if we should not fall deeper into this debt trap. So, and then obviously you have to clearly define who is responsible for what in this relationship. I think we live in a world where it's become so easy to communicate with people all over the world, but yet we find it most difficult to talk to those that's closest to us. And that's the root of the problem. We should talk to the people closest to us.
And chances are one of them have been through something that you've been and might have an insight or learning. So in that vein, we took to the streets to find out your opinion on this rather diverse question.
Honestly, if they were in debt because of COVID, that obviously hit us about 3 years ago, it will be understandable because we had salary cuts and a lot of other things that happened. But if they're in debt because it's just clothing accounts, unfortunately not. It has to be debts that make sense and they're actually working on it. In the next year or so, they will be in a healthy credit space.
When I date someone in debt, I can't give a definite yes or no. Maybe, probably, I'm not sure.
I wouldn't date someone who's in debt. Honestly, I think it's just another strain into your life that you don't really need. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
I would date someone who's in debt, if only the debt made sense. Yes.
That is an evolved, conscious, educated market. I love that because it is a very personal thing. So I speak from my own experience. COVID absolutely obliterated our industry. So there is a lot of debt there, some good, some really bad, but our earning potential, because of the opportunities created, I'm earning 4 times as much as I was pre-COVID. Yes, in a black hole, but we are filling it. So I'm glad people are looking at this from a different angle, because you need support if you're in that space, and you need a partner that can help you. You don't necessarily need their money, but you need them in your ecosystem to help propel you forward. How do we manage that responsibility line? Because there is nothing quite like the weight of debt on your shoulders.
Yeah, I think with debt, if it's a long-term relationship, if you're going to stick in, you see this is going to be a relationship that's worth sticking out for. Obviously, it's in both partners and in the relationship's interest to actually, to pay off this debt. So obviously, working together with it, supporting each other, not only financially. Support can be emotional. It can be
sure.
It can be seeing your financial advisor together, setting up that appointment, budgeting. So yeah, I think it is a shared responsibility.
And when you move into that space, even though there's not more money coming in, just having that calm eye of the storm, it's amazing how much more effective you can be and practical you can be when you really are in the front lines. So I hope this discussion has been eye-opening and thought-provoking, but it's got you thinking about this in a slightly different way. And if you have any personal stories or experiences related to sexually transmitted debt, and I want the ugly ones, please. We'd love to hear from you this morning. This is a safe place. 0864088863. Drop us a voice note. We'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
I hate to say it, but money is one of the biggest sources of stress in relationships. Vanna pointed out how that can lead to massive repercussions within that emotional context. Debt can add a whole new level of complexity to your life. And when you enter into a relationship, how do you navigate the issue of debt? Relationship icons, as they have set themselves up within that social media brand space, in one element. Nadia Jafta and Xavier helped now join us to share some of their insights, because these are questions that they have to ask themselves right now. And also joining us again is wealth manager of PPS Financial Services and part-time psychologist and relationship analyst is Vanna Rousseau. Now, he is a financial expert, but we are all playing in this emotional money space. You guys more so than most. And I don't know who to ask this question to, because I don't know how far along in your own conversation you are. You guys are kind of building a financial unit together. How much independence is there within that? And how have you guys grappled with the notion of debt between you?
So,
Ladies first, ladies first.
so I'm 7 years older than him. So I think naturally I will be a bit more financially stable. So I think the important thing is to just be patient with our own separate journeys, and then to try and build something together, keeping in mind our own individual journeys.
Yeah.
Xavier, do you have hang-ups like that in terms of if you went into this scenario, and granted you started dating after she had won $1 million, which is kind of strange, but if you were well aware, and I'm joking, dude, I'm sure that line was long. We figured this whole thing out.
Give me away, you know?
I don't know why I didn't cotton onto this earlier, but would that be a deal breaker for you? If you had come into this and her financial situation wasn't stable, there was debt, how do you think that would have triggered you?
I don't think it would have triggered me at all. I would have wanted to help her find solutions to the debt, and maybe help her if I could. I know the woman she is, she would have been like, I don't want your help.
Yeah.
But I would want your advice, you know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of, these days, they don't teach us enough in schools about finances and how to deal with your money and how to budget, or whatever the case may be regarding finance. And when it comes to later in your life, when you realize you're supposed to know these things, you're already in debt and you can't...
Or you've learned
you don't know how
from your
to
parental
manage
journey, the baggage passed down through generations.
Or you just say, I'll learn how to manage money when I get money. But the fact is, you're just going to end up spending it like you did.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, you raised a beautiful comment. We talk about physical health all the time. We're now talking about mental health all the time. Where's the financial health conversation?
Yeah, it's strange. Financial health is still a taboo subject. It's at school we were taught Pythagoras, we taught all these other things, but we weren't taught our taxes. We weren't taught how to do finance, and I think that's where it's important to get the professional involved. Talk to your financial advisor, your wealth manager. If you come into money, if you have big things that you that happens in your life, your first person that you have to phone is your financial advisor. They should be able to assist you with budgeting, with drawing up a will, planning for your risk, your investments, retirement, all of that. So get the professionals involved. That's what they're there for.
Sometimes our parents don't even know like how to do these things, you know what I mean? And that's the sad part of it. So it just shows you the cycle can continue if you as a person don't change. And change your mindset and change your ways
But
of...
they also did the best with what they were given. So.
Completely. It's a different world. I mean, we joke about it now, but I think COVID changed things beyond what we have fully wrapped our heads around. So yet again, we needed the experts to weigh in, and we headed to the streets to find out your opinion. Will you help your partner pay off that debt, or must they carry that on their own? Let's find out.
No. Will I help them? No. The answer is no. Do not help anyone with their debts. They must help themselves. Now he leaves you in debt.
If I can afford someone who's in debt, then I definitely would. Yeah.
So if I was in a position to help somebody out, I would definitely do so. If I have the right means to do so, then why not? Why not? Yeah.
I worked hard for my money, and they did their debts on their own, so they must figure themselves out.
The fire. Look, there was a little bit of like heart there with the whole COVID conversation. Now we're like, hell no. I'll support you, but you do it your damn self. Maybe there's an opportunity to get some free advice here. How do we then go about, because we want to feed into the same financial model and grow our success financially, but also protect ourselves independently. How do we set that up? What advice do you have for this young couple that are embarking on a very much a mutual financial journey now?
Again, setting those boundaries, but if this is a long-term relationship, you want to ensure that the most expensive debt is paid off first, so one can do it together. What is expensive debt? It's personal loans, credit cards, store cards. So how do we eat an elephant? We start bite by bite, and we start with the trunk, this soft meat. So we eat those expensive debt first. We pay that off first. And then together, obviously, for the better of the relationship, once those debts are paid off, we go on to the long-term ones.
And then you've got a goal and you've got a system that works like that. Let's take it to the socials now to have a look here. We've got Cindy Groenewald Ferris weighing in a relationship. You're both still single and your debt should be yours alone. When you get married, the ball game differs only. This is being in a relationship only status, but with marriage responsibility has to stop. At the end of the day, you'll be paying debt off for a girlfriend or boyfriend. You break up, you won't get your money back. And it begs the question that how often we look through the financial lens and ignore the emotions, or look through the emotional lens and ignore the financial lens. And these two things have to be dealt together. What advice would you give with your shared experience now to couples who are broaching this or possibly in that ugly space right now?
So don't turn towards each other and be ugly. Rather fight the problem than fight each other, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, there will be problems. There will be, well, inflation and taxes and all those things going up. There's going to be a time where money is going to be a problem, and it's better to face the problem than to fight each other, I'll say.
I remember that.
Yeah, no, completely. Look at that, life hasn't beaten that joy and hope out of him yet, man.
And I think there's a whole thing, it depends on the person. Like, even though we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and I would like to marry her, but if I would like to help, I would like to help. Like, that depends on me. If we break up, we break up, or it shouldn't be, and I wouldn't expect you to give me the money back. I'm doing it because I want to do it.
Yeah, and it's empowering to you within the space of your relationship. I definitely get that. One last word of advice for someone who is caught in the ugly side of this and looking for a first step, that first bite of the elephant.
Yeah, I think we at PPS, we always say we want our members, our clients, to live the lives that they dream of. And I think one of those first dreams is to be able to live debt-free. So sit down with your advisor, sit down with each other and talk to this. I'm going to take you with to clients going forward because you guys, you've got this.
Awesome, I love it, man. And maybe there's something to be said for a little age gap. Maybe it really can work in this instance. Now, you guys are doing it properly and you are completely authentic in that journey. And that only speaks to, I think, the human condition right now. keep it real. Just speak to your partner. If you've got pressure points that you know are going to be triggered, speak to them about it. Communication is key. And when you're ready to make real wealth, get in contact with the experts. Buddy, thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you.
Cool, guys.
I really need to taste this elephant you're speaking about.